Hey, what's up, y'all? Back again with another video. I hope you guys have been doing well and taking care of yourself the best way that you know how, and learning how to navigate this world. So I have made videos about narcissists, and just to pinpoint or give an example of how to deal with people and some of my experiences of what I learned in this life. And the word is just a word. You know, people are walking around here on this planet Earth with a lot of trauma, seeking validation, wanting to know people's perspectives because they want to see how people view them instead of validating themselves. So you have people like that are still hurt. And with that hurt, what do? They take it out on other people or be passive aggressive, put up a facade, and try to mask things with that facade that they are perfect, that they are right, trying to prove that they are right in certain spaces, whether it's a job or a family member, on focusing on statistics and numbers. And those things are great. Definitely great because, you know, that's how people learn. And people like to have proven facts behind what they are talking about, or what to try to prove that, you know, that the information. Me, on the other hand, like I said, statistics are great, numbers are great, percentages are great, but at the same time, I focus on me, myself, my feeling. How do I feel? My body and my emotions, because all of that will make me self-aware of who I am. And the numbers and the statistics, if I happen to learn about those things statistically, then it will make a lot of sense. But at least emotionally, I'm doing the work, and that is the most important thing, is taking care of your emotions when you are in these certain spaces, because you can learn whatever you need to learn, whether if it's in a textbook or learning a new product, whatever it may be, you will learn that in your own way. People individually, we have our own mind, and the way that we learn things is differently than another person, but it doesn't make it wrong or right that someone has a different way of learning something. It doesn't mean that they are dumb just because, you know, a specific person does not have the same learning style as you. And what that root underlying thing of everyone being different, everyone learning differently, everyone has their qualities that empower them, that make them unique, and that they add to the table, that they add to a group setting, that they add to a family dynamic. But what happens is that people don't respect or try to understand that there are other types of people who think differently, who learn differently, and who also gravitate towards specific things for a reason. You know who you are. You absolutely know who you are, and you know what you gravitate towards. So when you're in certain spaces and people are trying to knock you off your square or knock you off your focus, you got to be strong enough to be solidified in who you are in these spaces, because you know what's aligned for you. When you know who you are in these spaces, no matter if you do have a lack of knowledge with whatever you're trying to learn, when you're in a team setting, when you're trying to work on a project, when you're trying to get things done with family members, you have to know who you are. When you know who you are, no matter what, and you don't allow anyone to make you feel insecure in these spaces, you will be fine. That's all you have to do, is be yourself, feel your emotions, and know who you are. know who you are in these spaces so people's energies won't infiltrate you. You will know what to reject. You will know what to reject spiritually, energetically, emotionally. You will understand what's yours and what is not yours. And this takes a lot of practice. It takes time, but you can absolutely do it at an instant. You can either make it hard or you could make it simple, but it's all in how you and your blueprint of what God gave you and the body that you jumped into to understand that. So it's all about understanding the worlds and the energy that you carry and what you have. And I always say, feel your emotions and check out your birth chart so you know when to tap into these certain energies within you. Understand that you are nothing. You're not attached to anything that is necessarily happening in front of you. So there isn't much that you need to do or much to worry about or ponder about. You just got to get comfortable in your body so you can be able to be in these spaces and be unaffected when people are trying to provoke you, trying to lower you, trying to be in this trickster energy to throw you off, because they see the power that you have, they see the light that you have, but you got to know that you have that light. You got to know that you're already whole, that you're already whole right now. You have to believe that. People will try to play mind games with you, and you cannot allow that. You have to be so solid within you that their little games that they are playing, you will see them coming. You will see the games and the games that they are playing to try to throw you off, because they want to feel like they're the best person in the room. They want to feel like their way is the best way, and that's absolutely untrue. You have to make a statement that you're the person who is here as well in this space. And you are allowed to add what your flavor is into that soup. So, because you know that you can have space in that environment as well, you will not allow someone to play mind games with you, to devalue you, to make you feel less than, to make you feel like you're left out of a group and everybody is laughing and they try to leave you out. You are strong even if they are doing that, even if they're doing that petty stuff, because most of the time when they do that is to try to make you feel lower or less than. A lot of the times it's to try to provoke you and leave you out like you're not a part of the crowd. And there's no committee to be into but the committee of the world and the committee of humanity, not, oh, I'm this and I'm that. So now, for example, I hear a lot of people who talk about ADHD and neurodivergent and autism a lot. And this is not to take away from the fact that people do have these things. And to be honest, I probably have some type of ADHD or autism or whatever. But I chose, after reading what I read up on, because some of them are relatable. Some of the things that ADHD people have, it's relatable. And some of the things that neurodivergent people have is very relatable. But at the same time, I don't want to put myself in a certain category, because then that is limiting myself of what I am capable of. And I don't want to use that to be a buffer, to be have an excuse to treat people any kind of way, to be rude and to blame it on ADHD or a specific quote unquote mental illness, when it's not, it's just a term. You don't have to look at yourself as a mental illness. If you want to look at yourself that way, you can, but you're much bigger than that. Your spirit is way bigger than that, and you are connected to God that is way bigger than any of those terms to put you in a box, to kind of like limit you to a certain degree. Anything is possible. Just like God is limitless, anything is possible to move through. If a person is using it to understand, how to navigate the world and not use it as an excuse to treat people a certain way, then that's fine, but never be in a space where you want to use that and limit it and use it as an excuse. You want to learn you as much as possible. You're doing it for you to learn about yourself, and then it'll lead you to even higher perspectives, another perspective, another route. You're not doing it to tell other people that you are that way. You're doing it for you because you're trying to make yourself whole. You're trying to figure this whole life thing out anyways, which you're whole already. Why does everyone feel like they have to explain that they have something, that they have this, and put themselves in a box? And then what I've experienced, because I'm not claiming the fact that I have ADHD, then people will divide me up or cause division because I don't claim that I have ADHD. I don't even really speak on it. When people talk about it, I don't even chime in and say, oh yeah, I have that too, or blah, blah, blah. I don't really chime in like that when it comes to talking and conversing in certain ways, because I'm letting them have the floor. And whether a person has a mental illness or not, we should all be compassionate to each other. We don't have to learn the fact that somebody has a mental illness to basically treat them with respect and kindness and talk to them with kindness. We don't have to use that. We should treat everybody with kindness regardless. We got to get to that point where you can treat people with kindness no matter what they have. It doesn't matter what job they have, if they're a janitor or if they're a person who takes out trash, a garbage man, and treat everyone with respect. If someone who has a disability or doesn't have a disability or doesn't have a visible disability, because every single person on this planet Earth is struggling with something. Everyone, whether it's physical or more mental, and I myself, I've gone through a lot of things, but it's been more mental and emotional based than physical. I've dealt with physical things, of course, body stuff, but at the same time, some people have like addictions or addictions to alcohol or drugs and stuff like that. So that is their way of learning life. That is their blueprint of why they are doing the things that they are doing, and it shouldn't be judged. You gotta just have compassion across the board. That's what I do. I don't care if someone stutters because I stutter, anyone who is scatterbrained and stuff like that, or someone who has a disability. I treat everyone the same that I meet. Just because someone's a little weird or they do things a little off or whatever, that is part of the human experience. That gives people character. We're not supposed to be the same. We don't all learn the same. We don't all have the same brain. And no one is less than because of that. It doesn't mean that they're dumb just because you do things a certain way and the other person is basically doing it in the opposite way, but completing the task, still getting it done. But in their brain, it makes sense to do it that way. It doesn't make sense to do it the way that the other person is doing it. And so why can't we have compassion right off the bat, whether someone tells you they have ADHD or not? We're all human beings. We're all going through the same cycles and tests in life. Life is a cycle. Life is just like being thrown in a washer machine. And when you're being thrown into that washer machine, you're trying to get energetically clean and clear. You're clear with who you are. And you're trying to purify your energy so that next cycle that you have, if you go through the same test, because some tests do come back around, not because you are necessarily having a trauma response to that thing, but it's to show you how much you have grown, to show you that you have patched up those holes emotionally. It's not always happening again because you are necessarily hurting or affected by someone and what they say to you. You may have had an insecurity about how skinny you are, or maybe how overweight you are, but you started to do the work to patch up that hole and loving yourself regardless of what anyone thinks. So when you go through that again and someone says something about your body, because it does happen, because people are out here peopling, and you're going to encounter people no matter how much spiritual work you have done. You're going to encounter people who project onto you, or take your confidence as you being cocky. They're going to filter things out through their insecurities. So that's something that you can't help. But what you can help is the emotions. What are you feeling? What do you feel when it's happening? And if you don't feel anything and you're being honest and you're being real with yourself about your triggers, because the more honest that you are with yourself, not necessarily the outside world, because that will always come second, how honest and integral you are within you, it will always be reflected in some type of way. But life won't be perfect. So it's all about getting honest with your own personal emotions and your triggers, and not being ashamed that you have triggers and emotions, and allowing people to make fun of you in those spaces, because they have their issues too. They have their challenges too. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. So when an individual tries to poke fun at you for something that, you maybe use as an example to make mistakes in front of those people, and they will make fun of you for making mistakes, but they have their own things that they do that are not precise or correct, or causes disturbance. So they're doing that because it should show you that they don't really do a lot of work within themselves. They just don't. And a lot of times we know when someone is joking, but on the other end, a lot of that joking that people do in these spaces, they're trying to provoke you, because they're trying to get out that unhealed trauma or that hurt and that pain that someone else caused. They're trying to passively aggressively take it out on you, because that person, that individual who's making fun of you, they have someone at home that makes fun of them constantly. That it may be a parent, for an example, that is making fun of them in a way that it probably affects them, because it's their parent. And people look at parents as, they're supposed to be the ones that take care of you, that are supposed to nurture you, that are not supposed to humiliate you in front of people. So that is going on in that person's life, and they are pushing it out on another individual. It may be a workspace, it may be other friendships, stuff like that, and that's where they're at. And when you start to see that, you'll be able to handle them differently. You'll be able to give them compassion. You'll be able to speak with them with understanding and compassion, and be able to be firm and set a boundary at the same time, because there's nothing wrong with setting boundaries. And then there's times where you're not going to say anything at all. And it's up to you to guide yourself through that. Of, should you say something? Is it worth it? Will they listen? Are they going to receive it? Or should you just stay quiet? And sometimes that's more powerful than saying something. But you have to gauge where you are at in your healing journey, and that's knowing yourself. But going back to life being a cycle and being thrown into a washer machine and being tossed around so you can learn things, you're going to get tossed around, you're going to get bruised up, you're going to emotionally get bruised, and you may even get taken advantage of, things like that, to help you awaken more. So you come out of that cycle, and then you get put in the dryer where it's nice and cozy. You start to get warmed up. You'll start to understand life better. And you'll take the tools of what you learned in that one particular previous cycle, and you'll take it into the next cycle. And that cycle that you're in those beginning stages of learning, it may take 2 years. It may take a year. Just like the dryer, when it's or just like the washing machine, it takes an hour and 30 minutes for those clothes to get clean, and then it buzzes, and then you move on to the next step, and you get put in the dryer, and then you may not be tested for a while, and then you get back put into another cycle, and then whatever you learned from the previous cycle, you're putting it to works. You're able to see life through a different lens at that point, because you're a lot more lighter, especially when you have done the work emotionally to integrate that energy within yourself. So that's mainly what it's about. And being conscious and remembering that's why you're here on this planet Earth. That's why you're here. So all the details about what people are doing become irrelevant once you start to realize that it's more about your emotions. And when you have patched up the holes within your insecurities and your emotions, you get stronger with that. You could become detached, because it's all about learning how to be healthily attached and how to be detached of this world. Like, you're in this world, but you're not of it. And those, you will automatically start to become protected. And when you speak and you say something, and you could say something firmly, but in a loving way, to where it's so impactful, because the vibration that you hold within your body, those people, they're not going to know how to act. They will start to react, or they'll stop trying to play mind games with you, because they can't do it, because they don't care about you. They just care about their own gratification, whether it's good or bad. They're trying to feed their soul. They're trying to feed their inner child. And so look at it as just a person who is unaware of their inner child and not catering to that within themselves. Because you can be your own parent. You can be your own mother. You can soothe yourself. If you get it from the outside, that's amazing. If you can get it from external people, but it's even better when you do it within yourself. You know how to cater to your own needs. You're not expecting it from other people. And when you get in that vibration of least expectation, people will come to you and be able to add to what you already started, which is loving on you first, which is being your own parent first, which is taking accountability of your own energy first. And so you'll have people who are naturally come towards you that can give you that love that you have been already doing. It's not you go out and you seek it, you seek validation from others, you try to prove things to others. And let me clarify that it's nothing wrong with speaking up, as long as you're in a neutral space. When you are speaking up, that's where you want to gauge where your emotions are. Because some people online will tell you not to react, not to say anything, but I say you got to guide how, what you should do in those moments, because only you know that. And it doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just the emotion and the intention behind what you are speaking. What you are speaking when you're trying to talk to another individual, because sometimes speaking up is clearing up a lot of past karma from family members who did not speak up for themselves in those moments to solidify who they are and their autonomy. Because sometimes speaking out loud is a vibration in itself, and it's protection, and it's making you a powerful spirit of no fear. You become fearless when you have been doing the emotional work, because whether if you lose everything, that you will be okay, that God will work it out. You start to get more and more confident in who you are, and you'll start to get more and more confident with God. So you want to build up confidence with God. God doesn't need confidence from you. God doesn't need your praise. God doesn't even need your power. God is trying to show you how powerful you are, but you have to meet God halfway, or halfway with that energy, because God doesn't need anything. God doesn't need you to do anything but be yourself and recognize who you are and why you're here. But God doesn't need your power. God doesn't need your praise or your, or begging, and stuff like that. God doesn't need that. God is whole already. God is there to show you who you are. And do you realize who you are? Do you understand why you are here on this planet Earth? Do you understand the notion of non-detachment? Do you understand that? What have you been paying attention to and catering to way too long? What have you been giving your power away to way too long? God doesn't need your power. God is already powerful. Do you know that? That's what you want to focus on. So you got to meet God halfway. We can't just always give things to God and just throw it to God and say, hey, God, can you just pick this shit up? You can't do that all the time. God wants you to do the footwork sometimes as well. But you got to know yourself. So when you know yourself in these spaces, you are automatically protected. When you are being present, you are already protected. Let them feel insecure. You don't always have to cater to people's insecurities. You don't have to do that. You don't have to people please. You don't have to make people feel comfortable. That is their job. You be comfortable. You're already a comfortable person, so just be comfortable. So that's what it's about. It's not always trying to be the nicest person in the room. You're already a nice person. You don't have to prove that to anybody. You're already a good person. You don't have to spend energy proving that. It will come out, and when you're in these workspaces, just to give you guys another example, when you're minding your business, you're being present, you feel whole within yourself, you're confident with who you are, you don't need anyone's validation, and the people that you're around are trying to make you feel low because they're in a insecure state, they're in a fearful state. So if you're not in that space, and they are, and they will look for any opportunity to try to find a loophole to call you out on something that's really petty. There's one thing to call someone out on something that's like, okay, this is what you need to know. This is how, blah, blah, blah. But we all know when people are being petty, when people say things and it's backed by pettiness behind the vibration and how they talk and how they operate, versus, someone who's whole, someone who's already kind, naturally, genuinely. They don't have to try hard. They're not worried about anybody and what they think about them. When I've been in these spaces with people who are playing off of their insecurities still, who are still interacting with those entities of insecurity instead of accepting themselves, they will try to make you look bad in front of people. And it won't work because you know who you are. They could try to do that, but it won't work. And whenever people do stuff like that, you know what will happen? There'll be someone, like a customer or someone will come in and be like, you're very attractive in front of everyone. Like, you have great whatever, blah, 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 in front of everyone. In front of everyone. And those people will either be like, oh, that's awesome that somebody gave a compliment. That's really sweet. That's nice. That's really cool. There's a way to look at it. Or they'll go through the lane and add more insecurity to themselves, that they don't get recognized, that they need to change who they are, that they need to, it'll just add to the box of insecurities that they already have, instead of jumping out of that box and being like, oh, that was really sweet that they, complimented her. That's really cool. You don't have to do anything. It'll show for itself. Your energy will show for itself. And you have to know that you are not alone, and you are willing to be alone to hold on to what you know, to hold on to your energetic rights of being here on this planet Earth. You don't have to play in the mind games of other people. You don't have to match mind games of other people. You don't. You just need to be yourself. You got to be in a monogamous relationship with you. With you. And the more that you learn who you are, if people segregate you in spaces, whether they're trying to do it intentionally or if they're unaware that they are doing it, or they just so happen to come together and you're left out, you have a space that you can go into your mindset, that you can get information from, or you could be even more present, or you could focus on what you're doing even more, or you could just be able to play with energies within yourself, see how you feel, check in with yourself. But don't allow people's energies to overtake you and bully you. Don't let people spiritually and energetically bully you in these spaces. You know what I mean? Like, it'll show itself externally. A bully will show itself externally. And you don't want to be in a space where you are naive and taken advantage of, because there are people who do not care about you. There are people who are not going to like you. There are people who are going to basically just want to tear you down. They see you as fresh meat. And you got to protect that fresh meat energetically. And how you do that is you sit with yourself. You build up a spiritual regimen for you, and you stay committed to that more than anything on this planet Earth. And so you can get connected to God and stronger with God, because they can't take that away from you. They can take a degree from you. I remember my grandma told me, she was like, get an education. They can't take that away from you. And I found out information years later after that they can take a degree from you. They can. These things that are external, they can take these things away from you. But what they can't take away from you is your energetic space. What they can't take away from you is the love that you have for yourself. What they can't take away from you is your own personal mindset and the spiritual systems that you built in for yourself to maintain yourself here on this planet Earth. So what they can't take away from you is your connection to God. They can never take that away. They cannot. So with that spiritual backing, and not using God as a crutch to maintain your insecurities, you're walking with God. You're being with God in those moments, in those emotional moments, in those insecurities. Because as soon as you tell someone that, you have a headache, you could tell someone that you have a headache and they'll see that as an opportunity. Or you could tell someone that you're tired. They will see that as an opportunity to amp up their energy and feed off of that, because you have a headache, you're in pain. People love shit like that. People love stuff like that, and people love to capitalize off of your energy when you're in that space. They know that, so they try to annoy you even more. They know that you're in pain, and a lot of people do this. They'll try to annoy you, pester you, provoke you, play mind games when you're in that state. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of your physical body, your immune system, okay? Learning about you, your blood type, who you are, the foods that you gravitate towards. Learning about detachment. Because the more that you learn about detachment, even if you are in pain, you will understand that you're not the body. You will understand that you're not that thing that they are saying. You will know that. And whatever they are speaking of, are trying to capitalize off of, or talk about you, or talk about your mom. There's people that do that too and be like, oh, I'm just joking. That's just showing you how they feel about their own personal mom or their friend or whoever they're in conflict with. So they're fighting with themselves instead of being honest with the person that they should be honest with. Whenever you have problems, the world isn't your problem. The world isn't your problem. It's whoever you and the person that you got in conflict with, and you got to learn the detachment to be able to interact with new, fresh people, or people when you're at work, or when you're around different types of friendships and stuff like that, you got to realize that they have nothing to do with whatever conflict you have at home, you know. And someone was like, you know, some people, they will basically sit there and just be rude and be mean. If they had a hard life, they want other people to have a hard life. They want other people to struggle. And it's just like, how do you know their story? Will be mean and rude to someone else because they had a rough life, instead of being the opposite and having compassion and having kindness for others and being humbled that the fact that you have gone through those things, that should soften you up. It should do the opposite, you know. But most people, they tap into that anger, which is understandable. But you're going to, you know, a lot of people are not going to really want to be around individuals who are like that. You know, they're not going to be able to have fruitful situations or moments where they get some type of relief on this planet Earth with their situation, because they're constantly spewing it out to others instead of going within and taking that initiative to take care of their emotions. A lot of people like to numb out their emotions, and that's just stuffing it down, and you're not able to, you're just making it worse. You know, it's like a compressor where it gets compacted down, you know, and it just pops. That thing pops and it goes flying off. You don't want to do that. You want to deal with what you have right now. You want to deal with the emotions right now, you know. And so I've, you know, that's basically, you know, how you start to learn and understand this planet Earth. And one thing that I do, like I've mentioned before, is meditation. That has allowed me to start to really understand detachment, to really understand what it feels like to detach from the body. That's where you start to feel everything, and you understand that you are actually not the body, and you are an energetic being. But you gotta want to win for yourself to be able to get there. But if you're not willing to do that, then you're constantly going to meet resistance and not be fulfilled and be spiritually fed within. So don't focus on the narcissist. I can appreciate the fact that there is a word that's called narcissist or covert narcissist, whichever one. And I appreciate that there is a meaning to it and to pinpoint it. But then you realize that it's always been about you. It's always been about you. And that, me pinpointing it, definitely helped me. But I didn't want to limit myself and just stay there when it comes to dealing with people who are just really, you know, who are narcissistic. You know, I want to better myself every single day, especially within me. It's not about anyone else. It's not about me wanting other people's approval, and I want their approval. I don't operate like that. You know, there's people I had to tell people, I'm like, I'm not looking for your approval. I'm not necessarily trying to be liked. I'm not trying to be liked in these spaces. Like, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, I'm going to still do what I need to do to get whatever done. Because no one is going to throw me off my focus. And the more that you focus on someone, if someone likes you or not, you're getting thrown off of your self-awareness. You're putting energy into that and into them instead of into yourself. You got to take the steps, because there's steps that you have to take in this life, because you'll be shown little by little what you need to do and what you need to work on. And never be embarrassed about that, because nobody on this planet Earth is perfect. And if we sit here and pretend like we're perfect, you're missing out on so many things. To think that you know everything, or to think that, or when a narcissist thinks that they know everything, they're just limiting themselves. You know, like if they think that they're perfect, they're just limiting themselves. People who are overly perfect, maybe their task is to be less rigid, to loosen up a bit, to not be trying to be so perfect, because even that perfect being, even whatever you're doing is, you think it's perfect, it's still not perfect. It's still not perfect because we live here on planet Earth. So letting go of that rigidness of everything has to be like this. There's nothing wrong with structure. There's nothing wrong with the foundation, but there has to be a flow here on planet Earth. And everyone does things differently. Everyone takes different steps in a different way. Everyone has a different mindset. So understanding that helps you become more successful, helps you become grounded, helps you become less judgmental, because people love to be the best judgmental person out there and then pretend like they're not judgmental, and then pretend like they're not, and they really are, because you can feel it from their insecurity, or you could feel it from their energy that they are judgmental, or you could even pick up on the things and where they're coming from. But don't allow that to become you just because they see you in a light. Because like I said, God will show them who you are in these spaces, and you don't have to do shit. You would rather be alone with your own thoughts than be with a bunch of people. And people who always want to be in everyone's business and knowing what everybody else is doing is because they don't trust their own thoughts. They don't want to be alone with themselves. They don't want to be alone with their own thoughts. And if they say that they're alone, that they could be alone, can they be alone without their phone? These phones are making people so comfortable in thinking that they know how to be alone, when that's far from the case, that they still don't know how to be alone, because this phone is actually a energy as well. So don't get fooled by people thinking like, oh, I know how to be alone, but they're constantly on their phone. They don't know how to just lay there or be there or meditate for hours and hours and hours to understand who they are. So don't get bamboozled by the things that people do. You'd be surprised by the things that go through people's minds and them attaching to it. When you attach to a lot of these thoughts that may come through your mind, it causes a lot of pain. It causes a lot of havoc on your body, because you're ingesting all these thoughts from other individuals that are in the room, that are in the world, or in that space. That's what's going on, and you take it on as yours, and now you got all these elements. If you already have a finger that's broken or throbbing or has arthritis, or you were born with it, and now you're on this planet Earth, and now an individual is being bombarded with thoughts and stuff like that, with that lack of understanding of energies, and that you can detach from thoughts and that they're not yours. So that individual is taking on their own stuff and other people's energies as well, other people's thoughts as well. They're not able to have a filter on their own mind. Just like a car has to have a filter system for the air to come in on you so you can cool down or you can get warm. But if that filter has been in there for too long, it's going to get dirty and junky, and it's going to push all those particles out into your AC unit in your car, to where you are breathing that in, and now you're breathing in that stuff and the air stuff, and now you already got your stuff going on, or if you have a cold or whatever the case would be, now you're breathing in all of that stuff. That's where you want to start to construct your mind to where you're not stubborn, you're not rigid, you're not able to receive constructive criticism, but you're able to recognize when someone is being petty, when someone is in their insecurities, when someone is trying to put their doubts onto you that you can't do something, or when someone is trying to make you jealous. There's people who try to make you feel jealous, like stupid stuff like that. Like, there's nothing to be jealous about anyone on this earth. Like, no matter how much money they have, how much, whatever the case may be, how much money they don't have, you shouldn't be jealous of anyone because you have your own power. So me personally, I don't play in those games of being jealous of anybody. Like, if you want to do what you want to do it. And that is a reflection. If you are jealous of someone, that's just a reflection of you not stepping into a space of what you want to try, or what you want to get into in life. Start doing it and you won't be jealous of other people. And whatever you get into, if it doesn't work out, don't be embarrassed that it didn't fucking work out. There'll be people, you'll tell them your story of something not working out, and they'll come from a space like that you did not complete that thing because you weren't good enough, or you weren't smart enough, or you're lazy. When that could be far from the case. Sometimes things just don't work out. Things just don't work out. There's nothing you could have done. You ended up shifting because you realize that actually situation that you got into when you tried something new, you wanted to go back to school for something, or you wanted to try a particular job, whatever it was that you are interested in, you tried it, and you realized, because this is what I realized for me, is that was for me during that time. For whatever I was into and it didn't work out and I couldn't help what happened, it just ended. There is nothing about me being lazy or anything like that. Nothing. It was nothing to do with that. I was doing my part, showing up every day, being open-minded and learning whatever I needed to learn. And so it ended. And so when that happens, what I looked at, it was just that was actually for me. I actually learned things for myself in those moments. It was actually for me. And I learned things from those particular, however long it lasted. It wasn't even about other people. It wasn't. It was all to focus on me. And it's always like that. But that situation was definitely to help me externally in the world. Some of it was internally, but majority of it was externally. How I could do things better or more precise or be more detail oriented. Everyone experiences life differently. Everyone learns differently. Some people learn, like for me, I learned from doing it and experience and trying it. Some people they learn by books and reading and stuff like that. I'm into that too, but I truly thrive through live, present mistakes, through doing it, through experiencing it. And it makes a lot of sense because I have 3 Sagittarius placements in my birth chart. Sagittarius represents experience, knowledge, being free-spirited, travel, learning, expansion. And that's how they learn, is through travel and being in different spaces. That's how they learn, not necessarily through books. Of course, through books, but the best experience for me that I've learned is doing it, being in the mix, being hands-on, doing the footwork. That's how, because it's live. You can learn a bunch of stuff in a book, but if you're not external, like taking the actions emotionally, externally, if you're not taking those actions so you can reconstruct your DNA, so you can reconstruct how you think about things and how you view people, you have to do the work personally, externally, not just by reading it. When you read it and you could do externally, that's when it can come together even more. That's just from my experience. But don't allow people to make fun of you when if something ended Even if you were lazy, maybe it just wasn't that time. Maybe you'll come back to it later on. Maybe you won't come back to it. Maybe you weren't that into whatever you tried. So that's okay. So never allow anybody to fucking make fun of you for not completing something, because God, it's your personal blueprint. God is with you. You know, God is going to look different for you, and God is going to tell you to make different actions for a particular reason, not to look good for other people. You know, don't allow people to make fun of you or take advantage of you in that energetic space to try to devalue you, because they'll do that. You know, they'll find any kind of way, because they're in a low state of mind, a low state of thinking. So that's what they always revert to, is a negative space of thinking, instead of being completely neutral, not connecting an emotion, not wanting to judge the person automatically. People just want to automatically judge someone instead of allowing someone to tell their story. When they ask, you know, they ask you and then they don't allow you to tell your story to understand you. So people will try to pull energy from you. People want to just want you to pretend. They'll basically pretend like they're interested, and they're actually not, because they want to tell their story. And it's like, look, we can both tell our stories if we, you know, like, give each other, you know, I'm the type of person, like, can't we just both tell each other each our stories? You know, if you ask, be genuinely curious, not to ask so you can have a turn, but if you want to have a turn, be genuinely into knowing what I have to say as well, if you really want that. But so, you know, being aware of that is crucial. And the minute that you see that someone is just narcissistic, they're just wanting to talk because they want to get validation from you eventually from that conversation about what they're doing, instead of validating themselves. Someone who really validates themselves and knows that they're whole, they don't do that. They don't even have to respond in a conversation. They don't even necessarily need to share their story, or probably even want to share their story to those types of individuals, because I know I personally don't. You know, share what you want to share, and other than that, you don't have to. You don't need to do that, you know. So you gauge what you feel like is best for you, when to speak, when to not. It's up to you and your discretion. And then you'll see how people react, and then you'll learn what to do next time better. That's it. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed of, because those people have their insecurities too. Those people, a lot of people don't like themselves. A lot of people are fighting with, you know, the people that they are around. They don't know how to reserve their energy. They don't know how to pull back their energy, to be loved on. I don't want people to be talking to me crazy, or if I'm in a certain space and I'm learning something and they're teaching me, they don't have to talk to me crazy, you know, and I won't allow it either. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'll speak up in a loving way, but they don't get to, you know, talk to me down to me and all that stuff. I got enough of that. I got enough of judgment. I got enough of people talking down to me, talking badly to me. I don't need to be in that abusive situations with people, whether it's in a job space or with family members. I'm not putting up with that anymore, and I'm not going to take offense to it either. I'm just going to let you know, and I'm going to, you know, chill off of that and off of you, and I'm not going to engage in those energies. So that's how you want to get you. That's where you want to be. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope that helps. Keep loving on yourself. Continue to feel your emotions and your insecurities, because that's where you will become stronger, and then you will start to see that whatever and however you've been feeling about yourself, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't. Like, we are all going to die one day, and you know, why not love on who you are? Why not enjoy the body that you're in? Why not enjoy who you are? Why not? So I love y'all. Peace.